If you have set New Year's resolutions for this year, then you have set yourself up to fail. Now, in this video, I want to show you what you can do instead so you can set yourself up for success. If you want that, keep on watching. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ash, and if you're like everybody else, you have likely set New Year's resolutions for this year. But did you know that 80% of all resolutions that get set actually fail by the first month? So by the time it's February, 80% of them have failed. And only 8% actually come to fruition by the end of the year. So if you don't want to do that and instead want to actually make progress throughout this year, then I've done a lot of research to find this method that I'm going to share with you today that will actually help you plan and succeed this year. Now, as we all know, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So let's stop wishing and let's start doing. So if you stay to the end of the video, I'll also give you a few bonus tips that will really help you put this into motion and make sure you are making more progress than ever before. And I'll be doing this with you guys, so make sure you follow along and action as you go. All right, there's a few steps in this, so let's begin. Step number one in planning for this year, you have to set out a goal for what this year looks like. So imagine or visualize what the year would do for you if everything went according to plan. What does your ideal year look like? For some of you, it might help if you write this down. So take a few moments and just visualize what if everything went according to your plan. If you had the most ideal year, what are all the things you would like to achieve this year? Now that you've done that, step two is you have to categorize these things. The thing is, it's much easier to track your progress if you actually have categories to break all of your goals into. So I've taken down 6 categories that will help you out. If you want to add more, you can go ahead and do so. So my categories for this are health and fitness, mental and emotional well-being, career, wealth, relationships, and contribution to society. These 6 categories will allow you to take everything that you want and keep track of them as we go on. And I'll explain that in just a second. So if you're using a pen and paper, or if you're using your laptop, then make sure you've written down these 6 categories in step 2. Step 3, take everything you did in step 1, the ideal vision you had for your life, and see what you can fit in step 2's categories. So everything you wanted to have, put these things into the categories. And the reason this is so important is because oftentimes we are too vague in what we want. So in step 1, if you just had, everything you could accomplish by the end of the year, it would just be really generalistic. So instead, what we want to do is make sure we can track the progress along the year. So if you put those things down into the categories, it's going to help you out a lot. And a big tip I can give you here is take an eye on whether or not you can control the things you're putting down. Let me give you an example. In relationships, you might want to say, I want to build a group of 500 friends by the end of the year. Now, ask yourself, is that really within your control? Can you directly influence how many friends you get by the end of the year? I want to think about how you can control that scenario in a lot more accurate way. So think about this. If your goal was indeed to have 500 friends by the end of the year, instead of saying that, maybe you can say things like, I want to attend one networking or social event per month, as an example, right? And in that, you can maybe even say, I'm going to speak to 5 to 10 new people per month in those events that I go to. Think about how you might want to turn that goal into something you can directly control. All right, now you've done that. Step number 4 is to break this year down into quarters. Let me explain. If you don't know what a quarter is, a whole year has 12 months, right? And in business terms, there are 4 quarters in a year. So quarter 1 has 3 months and each of the other quarters have 3 months. So quarter 1 will be January, February, and March. And then so on and so forth until the end of quarter 4, where you end in December. Okay, 31st of December. So what I want you to do is, now that you have this list of all the goals you want to achieve by the end of this year in all the different categories, now put those things into an order of priority for the different quarters, or what needs to happen in each of the quarters in order for you to achieve that end result. This is so important because oftentimes we just think that, we have this list of things we want to do, I'm going to do all of it right now. And this is a big mistake that people do in New Year's resolutions. is that they will suddenly change from doing nothing the previous year to doing everything right at the start of January, and then they burn out by the time it's February and everything falls apart. So in this method, you're going to make plans in each of the quarters to avoid all of that and instead sequence the things that you want to do. Let me give you an example. If one of your goals in health and fitness was to lose weight by the end of the year, then you've got to obviously set a more specific goal to say how much weight you want to lose or what you want to look like or what you want your health and fitness life to look like. Now you're going to break those down into the different 4 quarters to say what you're going to do in each of those. So for example, in quarter 1, you can just say, well, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times every week in all of quarter 1. And that's all I'm going to focus on. So ease yourself into it, right? Quarter 2, then you can say, okay, great. Well, I've created a habit of going to the gym 3 times a week in quarter 1. So maybe I'll also add eating well 3 times a week in quarter 2, right? So now you've got 3 days a week eating well and 3 days a week working out for quarter 2. Now, quarter 3, you can say, I'm going to be eating well and working out 4 times a week or 5 times a week, whatever you feel appropriate, right? Now in quarter 4, you're much closer to the end goal that you're after because you've been so consistent throughout the other 3 quarters. So you can up it again, or you can just carry on doing the same, but it gives you a chance to actually maintain progress in all the different areas that you actually want to maintain progress. You see how different that is to just setting a New Year's resolution and forgetting about it? So take some time, break all of these things down, all the goals that you have, put those into different quarters, and make plans for each of those. Okay, by now, if you have followed all the 4 steps, then you should have a very comprehensive plan for everything you're going to do this year to achieve all the goals that you have in place. But don't click off yet, because I'm going to give you some bonus tips that will actually help you really achieve this. Because by now, if you're anything like me, you've got a list that is so full, it might be overwhelming you. So let's go into the bonus tips right now. Bonus tip number 1, make it realistic. So if you're like me, you had this long list of all this ideal, beautiful year that you're going to have, but in reality, life gets in the way, right? You might have weddings to go to, or you might have holidays planned, and you can't do everything that you've put in place. So what I want you to do is all of the quarters that you've got in place, take a reality check against it, okay? And make sure you're able to do all the things that you've said you're going to do. Now, it should feel a little bit uncomfortable. It's a little bit of a stretch to be able to do all of those things, but not so far of a stretch that you just get overwhelmed and do nothing. So if you can't do something in one quarter, feel free to move it to the next quarter or even the next year. Remember, we have a lot of opportunity to do everything. It's much better to do smaller things and set yourself up for success than put everything in there and set yourself up to fail. We want to make sure we're creating momentum so that we can keep going. Okay. Bonus tip number 2 is make sure they are process-driven goals. What I mean by this is all the goals you have in the different quarters. Remember to put a plan against all of those things that is directly within your control. As I said, if you want to lose weight in the first quarter, for example, you can't directly say, I'm going to lose this number of kilos in the first quarter. It's much better to say what you're going to do in order to lose that weight. Right? So how many times are you going to go to the gym? How well are you going to eat? Are you going to get a personal trainer? Are you going to get a fitness coach? Like, what are the actions you're going to take to achieve the end result that you want to achieve? Do that for all 4 of your quarters and in all the 6 categories that we described earlier. Bonus tip number 3, and this is super crucial, is to get yourself a check-in. Okay, what I mean by this is a big mistake that people make with New Year's resolutions, okay? And that is when they set it in the beginning and they forget about it for the end of the year. And if you're like me, I've forgotten most of the New Year's resolutions I would have set by December, so I would never achieve it because I don't even know what I set. So instead, what I want you to do for this is get yourself a check-in every single month, okay? Either check in with yourself, or my recommendation would be to find yourself an accountability buddy or hire a coach or something like that so you can check in on your goals every single month, right? When you check in every single month, you can check whether you're on target to go to your goal, or you need to revise something in your actions or revise the goal itself to see what's going on. My recommendation would be to get an accountability buddy so you can do this together. Get somebody else involved to do the same thing. Set up plans with them. They might have different plans to you, but the fact that you're both holding yourself accountable to each other is gonna get you a long way. I also have an accountability buddy for the same thing to make sure I'm making progress throughout this whole year. And bonus tip number 4, and this is so important, probably the most important tip of them all, and that is to set yourself a reward for actually achieving the goals that you set yourself. And set yourself a penalty if you don't achieve it. And you have to be honest with yourself. And if you get yourself an accountability buddy or a coach, make sure you share this with them, okay? What will be such a good enough reward that at the end of the 3-month period or the end of the month, when you've hit your goals, that you would love to have? You will work hard enough to be able to get that reward, right? So set yourself a fruitful reward that you really want and a penalty that you really don't want. Okay, the idea is to move away from this penalty, and this penalty to be like a deterrent for you, and this reward to be an attractive thing for you, so it attracts you there. Okay, move away from the penalty and towards a reward, so you will be able to work hard every month and you know what you're doing it towards. Of course, you'll get the goals, but you'll also get that gratification to help you to keep going forward. Now, I'll be doing this with you guys this whole year, so let me know if you followed along. Put it in the comments below. You should have a very nice comprehensive plan for the whole year so that you are able to not only make a lot more progress than you've ever done before, but it's also going to be very realistic and it's going to be fun for you. So you can look back on this calendar, on your phone, on your laptop, or pen and paper, or whatever you've written down, and see how far you've come by the end of the year. Okay, so let me know in the comment below if you followed along. And if you wanted to pause certain areas, so rewatch the video. I want this to be really actionable for you guys. So go back and pause the areas that you need to pause to actually put everything into motion. Now, if you enjoy this sort of content, then make sure to subscribe in my channel. And this year, one of my goals is to add 52 videos to my channel. So I'll be showing up each and every week. So if you want to see anything specific from me, put it in the comments below and I'll be sure to check it out. So if you like this video, hit a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and Happy New Year. I will see you next week.